Hello and welcome to Drinks with Ron. I'm Ron, and I've got a gravelly sound because I've got some mucus lodged somewhere in the lungs there. Shit's been hanging on for about 2 weeks now. Get a little old. But my drink is a delicious reddish Rontoberfest Marzen. I brewed 5 gallons of this for Rontoberfest, which was the past weekend. Loaded it up into my buddy here, R2CO2. He's a well done droid. He did his job well. Keg goes in there, you pack the ice around it, and I know it hasn't been the warmest here. I think we got into the 70s today, which for October in Wisconsin is fucking warm. But R2 here, he held ice for 6 fucking days. As of yesterday, there was still ice in the bottom of this bastard. Came out and checked today, we're entirely melted. But hey, 6 days for the ice. I drank a lot of this last Saturday, so I have not had one since. I actually just got it back in the fridge downstairs and hooked the CO2 back up in the basement. But it actually sounds good. I didn't think I'd want to drink a Marzen until next year, but I've actually got some brats on right now. That's what I did for Rontoberfest. Made a bunch of brats, got them done early, got them in a crock pot, mixed with some of this and a Bud Light, because those were the 2 beers that got heavily drank on the fest. But I'll give you a brief idea while my brats finish. Over there, the beanbag boards. We had beanbags. Over my shoulder, the hook and washer game. That's a washer on a string. You swing it, try to catch it on that hook. Very infuriating for a lot of people. Ladder ball. That's where you got the 2 golf balls on a string, and you underhand toss it and try to get it on there. That giant log tipped over. Hey, Norm, Snuffy Nash. Nash is in the house. That tipped over log back there was actually stood up, and we played Hammer Schlag. By far the hit of both Rontoberfest. Everybody really gets into the Hammer Schlag, and we've coined a new term, going Idaho mode. That's when you get so angry that you don't drive it in your first 2 shots, that you flip the mallet over to the big side and just whack it repeatedly until it is into the wood. And that's now known as Idaho mode. I've seen it happen a couple of times. So yeah, but also up there I had a table set up, so we had giant Pass the Pigs. I don't know if you've heard me mention that before, but it's an old game, I think from the 70s or 80s, where the dice are actually little tiny pigs, and you roll them, and depending on where they land, how they're standing or laying, you get a certain amount of points for that. So I got like a 6-inch version. The big pigs, they're called. Let's take a live look in at the grill. I like my brats fucking charred, man. They better be black and crunchy on the outside. Especially, as I said, when you put them in a beer bath in a crock pot, then they soak that beer in and they get just tender as hell. So having that little bit of crunchy burnness on the outside is a big help. But I digress. Yeah, big pigs. We also had giant dice. I don't think we ever did play 654 this year. But last time we played 654 for dollars, it got pretty heated. And then, of course, beer pong Roomba. Last time there was a little bit of a problem. I had the same board, but it was my daughter's dance board, because I didn't want her fucking up the hardwood floors with her tap shoes. A fight I eventually gave up on and was like, you know what? Fuck them floors. Just tap there. But she's got a board that's for dancing on, and I built a little fence that sat around the top of it. And it was supposed to look like a fence, so when you're rolling the pigs, they were in the fence. But it was also for the Roomba, so the little sensor would hit the little wooden fence and turn around. Well, that didn't work. So I looked at it and I'm like, God damn it. The sensor is on the gap between the 2 boards. so it would just hit a corner and just keep bashing into the corner over and over and not going anywhere. So this time I actually got 1x6s and surrounded the entire board with them. Since my kid's not here, she doesn't need a dance board just this minute. I can still take them off. But so yeah, I put the big boards on there so the Roomba would have something for the sensor to hit and turn. Turns out it's just a shitty Roomba, and fixing that problem didn't do anything about it turning around. So yeah, we're supposed to start games around noon. I think some people got here a little before noon. The beer was already going in by 11. And you know what? Let me just do a quick backtrack and get you caught up to speed. Troy, the godfather of drinks, flew in. So I went and picked him up in Madison last Thursday. So if you know anything about Troy, many drinks were had. We're in Madison. So between, being around the Capitol and being able to get Ubers, everywhere we wanted to go was covered. There was no driving. I mean, $38 for the valet, but whatever, what you gonna do? So yeah, Thursday, me and Troy hit it pretty good. Joe Vegas, I don't know if you can tell by the name who's from Vegas, but he showed up, and we continued to drink. And we got some food. Everybody was wiped. May have been some edibles in there. Can only speculate. But yeah, so Thursday we got pretty shitty. So Friday, then we drove down from Madison, met up with a couple of the crew who flew into Milwaukee the night before. So they drove over and met us at the New Glarus Brewery. New Glarus, it's a cool little town. It's like a little Swiss village in the middle of Wisconsin, fucking chalets and whatnot. And they've got an awesome brewery. So we stopped there and got to drink in like a 78-degree day. Just perfect outside drinking in their awesome beer garden. So from there, we drove back and then got our shit together and really started the drinking before we did the Parade of Lancaster bars. There's only four of those. We only got to 3 on Friday night. So yeah, it got pretty drunk. One guy fell off the curb before the sun was down, before we got to bar 1. Doesn't remember eating food, but other than that, we did pretty good Friday night. Closed down the bars, so that was good. And then Saturday, we had the fest. They said we got started around noon. I'm going to wager we went through 4 gallons of that Marzen. I think there might be a gallon left in there. Also went through a case or 2 of Bud Light, a bunch of weird mixers. My brother and sister-in-law went to the liquor store, and they had mystery bags, which apparently means shit they couldn't sell. So they picked up a bunch of mystery bags and then gave those out as prizes for people who won some of the games. So it was pretty cool. It worked out organically. But from there, we ended up going to the bowling alley because that's the one we missed on Friday night. So ended up bowling. Did not have that on my bingo card. I think we made her till midnight. So a good 12 plus hours of drinking on Saturday. And then Sunday, most of the crew was headed back to airports to go back. But Troy had another night. So we all met at the bar for a little late breakfast. And maybe I guess that was around noon. Maybe it was just lunch. Yeah, that's all it was. So they kind of departed one by one, and Troy and I sat there to the conclusion of the late games. So I think around 7 we headed back. So a good 7 hours of drinking. That pretty much put an end to my 4-day bender. I had to take Troy back up to Madison the next day, so we had to get a beer there. Yeah, sat at that bar for a couple hours, which was kind of unfortunate because when you read a sign about where you're parking, you need to read the whole sign. So there was one that was like 2-hour parking, until 3 p.m. And I'm like, well, cool. It's, pretty much 1 o'clock now. So 2-hour parking, it ends at 3 o'clock. So even if we're late, the 2-hour parking ends then. So I'm cool. Well, there's a sign under that sign that basically said at 3 o'clock, no parking at all starts. So, since I wanted to avoid the $37 for the valet, just so I could go have a beer with Troy, end up having to pay the $45 parking ticket, followed by the $110 tow fee. But the nice thing was they just towed it a couple blocks around the corner and dropped it there for me. So, you know, I was out of their way and didn't have to go to an impound lot. It was walkable, which is good because it was Columbus Day. Apparently, see, in the sign said, you know, it said all the, you know, 2-hour parking till 3 o'clock, no parking after 3, except for, I can't remember, Saturdays, Sundays, and city holidays. I'm like, well, it's Columbus Day, which I was like, fuck, they towed this to an impound. I'm not going to be able to get anybody today. I'm going to have to sit here overnight. I left all my heart pills back home because I was just running Troy up to Madison. Oh, shit. So I get a hold of the city person, and they're like, yeah, not a city holiday. That's why I'm here. I'm like, okay, what the fuck is a city holiday? Like, is it like Madison Day I'm unaware of? Like, what the fuck's a city holiday? Isn't a city holiday every other one? So, no, not federal. So Columbus Day didn't buy me shit. But I got the car, was able to get home, and I guess I'll pay that $155 at my convenience. But those bastards didn't let me pay for shit all weekend, so you know, I still came out ahead. I mean, I got $100 in brats and beer, and you know, however much it cost me to make 5 gallons of beer, and probably another $50 in snacks and beer, and a couple $100 threw a kick-ass party. I had a great time. Still paying for it. A lot of fine smokables. But speaking of fine smokables, these brats look done. I'm gonna fucking eat them. So I should probably finish my Marzen so I don't know the wrath of Todd Finebucket. Nash, there's nothing out there for you, bud. So, for Drinks with Ron, I'm Ron. Being dive bombed by a bird. Signing off.